Hi, I am here at my estate sale. I thought I'd do a video because there's no one here in this particular moment, and I just wanted to start putting my face out into the world so that you know there's a real person behind all of these videos that I've been putting out. Anyway, I want to tell you about this estate sale. So how I got into estate sales is that I had a consignor in my consignment shop, and she consigned with me, I don't know, a year or so. And then one day her husband walked in and said, my wife passed away, and I know she has things with you, and we want to, see about organizing them for pickup or what to do. And went on to tell me that she had a house full of clothes, if I was interested in consigning those. And I said, sure. And so we followed up. I went into the home and I started going through what became, I don't know, this process has been going on like a year and a half. There was that much stuff: closets, drawers, baskets, everything you can think of, storage, garage, closets, more closets, more closets. And so there was no hurry, because in this situation, the wife had died, but the husband was alive and well, living his best life in the house. And so normally you have a situation where the house is no longer occupied by anyone, and it's usually for sale or up for sale, and you have to clear out everything that's inside. And so this was a very different situation. So what we decided to do is, there were so many things, and I went through to figure out, well, what could I take into my shop on consignment? And went through that whole process. And then a lot of the vintage I took in potentially for rental, because I'm associated for a rental house. And then it turned out the rental house didn't want to rent these period pieces. They were too much like a costume house would have. And so, okay, what are we going to do with them? Let's take them back to the house. And so back and forth and back and forth. And then eventually, I don't even know how it happened. We were just talking. I'm like, well, why don't I just have a sale with all this stuff? I said, because you don't want to throw it out. There's certainly money in all of this. And I know how to do estate sales. I had been in charge of the family yard sale my whole life since I was 13. And we used to do them twice a year in my mother's driveway in Columbus, Georgia. Anyway, so it all worked out. We took our time simply because I would come in because there was just so much to go through, and because he's still living his life. So I'm basically went in a few days every week, sometimes on the weekends, and I just quietly went through everything. And then he would travel, and obviously wouldn't go then. And so just we meandered for about a year and a half. And then finally we were ready to have a sale. And so I brought in some interns that work with me, and we started organizing and pricing everything for an estate sale, which was a very different process than going through everything. So we had to figure out, how are we going to display all this? What are we going to do? So we ended up going into the garage, and there's rolling racks in the garage, and then everything that was in bins had to be taken out of the bins and put on a hanger so it could be sold and priced and put on display. So we, a couple of months just going through that. And so then the sale started. And so I had 2 people working with me when the sale first started, 2 interns from Santa Monica College. And then eventually I had 1 intern because there wasn't enough business, because the sales had slowed down because we had sold through so many things. And then now we're at the situation where I'm basically here by myself while the owner is inside. And then I tried one situation where I had a vintage dealer come in and share the space with me, like a booth space, which was really fun and worked really well for her. So I tried that. And now I'm just quietly in the mode of liquidating what's left. Now, what's different is that I brought in even more stuff, right? Because I can't tell you how much stuff there were. I mean, if there were probably, I'm not joking, it had to be like maybe 8,000 pieces. I'm not kidding. Through all of this. And so I've been bringing in things in my consignment shop that have not yet sold to see if I couldn't just liquidate them here in this environment of an estate sale that are really, really fine things. We've got Chanel here, Escada, Rare Vintage by Lillian. And so I've brought that in now. So as we sell through those original pieces that were in the sale that aren't designer, but are still very nice, we now have all of this supporting product, same lady, that has been, gradually coming out of my consignment shop. And my consignment shop, I no longer have my own freestanding consignment shop. I sublet a space inside a rental house for stylists in West Hollywood. Nonetheless, that's where my product is. So I've been bringing things in a bit at a time, And I still don't have it all here. I don't. And so there was just so many suits, because the woman was a lawyer. There's still suits and jackets in there. So this weekend is about bringing in as much as I did from the showroom. And then next weekend when I do it again, I'll try to go through everything and bring in even more. I'm going to really try to make it to where there's not one piece, which is really tough because there's a lot of pieces where there's not one piece left in that showroom that belongs to this woman, so that we can hopefully get it out through this process. Now, what doesn't sell that's really great, like the great stuff, will go back in to the consignment shop and we'll continue to sell it online as one does. But we did want to give this chance. And we have sold many Chanel suits in this estate sale. So that's how I got into it. This was not a thought in my head. And there is so much money to be made in estate sales, running estate sales, I've learned. And it's a very consolidated time of selling. And people are so eager to get in here and see what you have and give you their money. They're waiting outside in line to get in. It's a very unique environment for selling pre-owned. And so now that I've done my first one, I definitely am going to do more. I've definitely put the word out among people who know me that I'm available for estate sales. And everything I'd ever done, growing up, and all those sales in my mother's driveway completely prepared me for all the madness, the bargaining, the lying, the ripping the tags off, just the shenanigans. And so I've had to be really tough, and it wasn't, it was easy to do because I'd done it many times. As a matter of fact, can you imagine me as a 15-year-old in the driveway, haggling with these, I guess we'd call them antique dealers at that time. They were antique dealers. That's what we called them, like the original resellers, antique dealers. And there was a gentleman in town where my mom lived, and he was like the guy in town for antiques. And so he would always come to the sale and look around, and I remember haggling with him, and just like, here I am 15 years old, like going, no, can't give additional discount, when it's already so cheap, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that a Tiffany lamp, what it might be worth, or Tiffany style lamp. I don't know that it was Tiffany brand, but believe me, this man got all kinds of things that were in my mama's family from some of these sales where we didn't know what we were doing. But anyway, I've learned a lot from doing all those sales. And we've had 99.9% good behavior at this estate sale. Only 0.1% of people are just not nice. And when I see that, I'm like, well, they did not have my mama to behave like this. But I think anybody can get triggered, even me. I've been triggered. People get triggered, especially when you don't want to give a discount. And what I decided to do with my estate sales is treat it like a sample sale. This is the price, deal with it. When we mark it down, we'll mark everything down at once. And so it's been mostly fine. And at the very beginning of the sale, where we had so many people through, who had never met me or seen me run a sale. So they didn't know my policies. They didn't know how I was going to be. They didn't know if I was going to have wiggle room. And I was just like, that's the price. If it got an issue, that's the price. You know why? Because it's all got an issue. It's all going to have an issue, right? And if you give one person a discount, you have to give everyone a discount. And believe me, they're listening. That is the one thing. People are watching you and listening to everything you say to every other person while you're doing these sales. So they're looking for clues to see, are you going to be firm on your price? Are you not? But we've sold so much. I've sold to vintage dealers, to costume designers, stylists, resellers. But I would say that was 10% of who I sold to. 90% are people who love fashion, who love vintage. It literally were a celebration of this woman's life to sit here and try on in front of the mirrors and make something work. Or if it had a flaw, we'd talk about, what could they do? How could we fix it? Or this one woman, she was so tortured. I know this feeling. She had this royal blue wool gabardine, double-breasted coat dress by Ralph Lauren, purple label with gold buttons. And at the very bottom, between the two gold buttons, but off-centered, was a moth hole. She's like, I don't know what to do. She was so tortured. And I'm like, look, at that price, you need to buy that dress. So she bought it. And so we talked about how you can take it to a reweaver, or you could perhaps add another button, or, some sort of embellishment down there to cover up the hole, or even color in something like underneath. So she bought it, and I'm glad she did. And what's so cool is that so many people talk about how to repair and refurbish something. And the whole big part of this that people don't talk as much about is the refurbishment part. So in an estate sale environment, you really aren't refurbishing anything. But in a consignment environment, you might take something in and say, okay, it's worth it to me if I get the hem fixed that's hanging out, or fix the button that's loose, or that kind of thing. But that's all part of it. And I happen to own a Moschino archive where I'm very much being very, very particular about making sure all the buttons are sewn on, and making sure the label is sewn on, and making sure hems aren't falling out. And so constantly keeping it up to date and maintaining it. And particularly if it gets rented, then you have to make sure that it's, not damaged for the next person, it's clean and all that. So that's all part of it. But in this environment, the woman was very meticulous about keeping the buttons or the things that were part of the item with it. And so a lot of things had extra buttons or pieces to it with it, which made it a lot easier for people to buy and feel good about it. But anyway, it's been a real, somebody just came in, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I just had someone come in. But in general, the estate sale is so much fun. It's very moving to feel like I'm getting to know this woman through her clothes. And I know, as someone who loves clothes, you can tell a lot about me if you went through my closet. And so I've learned a lot about her. You can see the progression of her career as a lawyer through her clothes, and how they are elevated. And toward the end, in the 90s, she's wearing all the Chanel, which is amazing, and the Escada and the Armani. But earlier in her career, she was not wearing those designers. She was in Carlisle, or she was in Jones, New York, or Brooks Brothers, or something that is non-designer. But what I loved about her is that all her clothes were 100% wool, 100% silk, 100% cotton, 100% linen, fully lined. I mean, she was into her natural fabrics. But at the end of the day, this woman, I was telling her widower, it's like ashes to the wind, that I feel like with her clothes that were just literally, we've had people going to Europe. One girl says, I'm going to Paris, I'm going to wear this slip as a skirt. She was a young girl. And then I'm going to wear her Chanel, pink and black Chanel jacket. And I'm going to tag you in it. And she sure did. So this woman in her life has literally been spread across the world. And I think it's a beautiful way to think about it, is ashes to the wind with all these clothes. And I mentioned that to her widower, and he said, that's a very romantic view of all of this and what you're doing. And And I hadn't thought about it that way, but I guess it is. But I am a bit of a romantic, but she deserves it. And I think it's a great way to frame what we're doing here and talking about the heart of reselling and the heart of an estate sale and the heart of all of this, and where does this stuff come from? It came from someone's life, someone's closet. It has a history, and as women, I know, at least for me and most women I know, we know where we bought it, what we paid, were we photographed in it, did we have a good time with the salesperson? Like, there's a whole history to the piece that we've attached to it. And so I know that we do that as women, and certainly I'm sure this woman had reasons she saved particular things. You know, I don't know what those reasons are, but some of these clothes are just so beautiful, you would definitely hold on to them. And here we are now, celebrating her life, selling this off a piece at a time, and letting her legacy continue through fashion in this estate sale. That's a little bit of my thinking and my thoughts, my estate sale today. My name is Jenny Walker. I am a stylist, a vintage reseller, consignment owner, shop owner, and vintage dealer. And now I'm estate sale aficionado. Please like and subscribe, and definitely let's connect on Instagram at the Jenny Walker Archive. Bye.